It's the weekend. It's Mailbag. It is a lovely sunny day here. I am joined by Dan and Dave, and making it an even more sunny day to have these two gents on. We'll get straight into the
Aw,
questions. What a lovely intro. Um,
that's far too nice, that Les. I
it,
feel
it
feel
was.
uncomfortable.
I'm feeling good at the minute. It's only gonna go. I
It's
think
because you're still drunk, aren't you?
I'm still half pissed. I think so. It's only gonna go
You can tell
downhill.
that Everton haven't played this yet this weekend, can't you?
Exactly. And we haven't had the stress and worry of any fixtures this weekend, so
Yeah.
we're all in a good mood. So, Mike Sullivan asked a question. This wasn't directly to Mailbag, but it was in response to me saying about Bayern Munich just messing about with the home kit. So I don't know if anyone's
Yeah.
seen the new Bayern Munich kit. It's white with red
White.
sleeves.
Yeah.
And it's like they've had blue and red stripes, red and white stripes, blue and red hoops, all red. They don't care. They just dick about with the kit, and it's
What are
fine.
your thoughts on that, though? I mean, I pretty much I like that, because I
I
know
think
we've had a lot of people fuming and really, really passionate about when we've had the argument: would you have us wearing all blue, shorts and socks, the full gear? And I've seen so many people flipping it about that we need the white. I'm firmly in the all blue camp with that, even though Pete, hopefully who joins us, was saying to me, yeah, the only reason why people don't like it is because it just looks like we're playing away at Old Trafford, because that's all we ever wear when we go to Old Trafford.
or Highbury.
Yeah, or Highbury, yeah.
Yeah, I like it so long as it's done well. So if you think when Everton have had white on the top, it's always done really badly. Like that Puma one we had with the big white panels down the
Yeah.
side.
Anything like that's horrible.
It
Yeah,
was
didn't we have
crap.
that we had that with Hummel, didn't we, the year before last, was it? When we first got them in, we had white on the sides.
There was white on the sides of that, yeah.
Yeah.
On the kazoo kit, yeah.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So
Because
yeah,
you
I think so long as it's done right, but it never is with Everton. But this question sort of, so I put something out on Twitter about that, and then Mike said he was thinking the same thing when he was watching Luton. So I think Luton are playing in orange at the minute.
Yeah.
When as an 80s kid, Luton are white with a little bit of
White.
orange on,
Yeah.
and blue shorts, and orange was their away kit. So then he said something about Big Steve Foster. Oh yeah, he said he should always wear a white kit like Mick Harper and Brian Stein. And I said they should always have one centre back that has a 10-style headband on. Steve Foster. That was the one thing I remember about Luton, that the centre back used to wear a headband. So he said maybe one for Mailbag this week. God, I've gone around the houses for this question, haven't I? Which past or present Everton defender will best be able to carry off a headband? He's going for Richard Goff or Derek Mountfield, and he actually did a picture of Richard Goff with a purple headband on, and I think
Yeah, I like that.
I think he nailed it. I think Richard Goff would actually look good with a headband. Yeah. So any thoughts on that headband?
Looks like a balloon, to be fair.
What's that?
Looks like he's got a balloon around his head there, to be fair.
It does.
But I get the sentiment.
It was
I
a
do
great
get,
bit
I
of
do get his
photoshopping.
point. The first one that comes to mind, as it so often does with the answers to questions we get on this, is Michael Keane. Michael Keane with a white headband, looking like he could just get off away from football and go for a game of tennis with his mates. That'd be my choice.
I have
I don't know whether he'd earn it, because if you wear a headband, you realise you've got to work that bit harder to make it look like it's doing you a favour by stopping you sweating all over your eyes and all that stuff.
Yeah, I've weirdly got this image of Michael Keane in a Hunter S. Thompson style, like white hat, like in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I don't know why.
Yeah. Feel free for all our listeners to do as a fake copy of this, fake picture of it. Would love all that.
I remember Mark O'Brien, he used to do the When Skies Are Grey website. He does like the best match reports ever. And in one of them, he said something about Kevin Davis dressed in a sailor suit. You know, when we used to play for Bolton. And every time I see Kevin Davis now, I can't not see him in a sailor suit.
What a shout that is, because I'm just thinking of it now. Remember when he was at Southampton? He scored that wonder goal at Goodison, didn't he, when he was at Southampton?
That got him his move.
Years ago. That's so true. You can imagine him with his little sailor hat on, can't you?
I don't know why it's so weird, but it just fits, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Nice to have you a flyer here today. Dan, have you got any thoughts on it?
Well, you see, for me, the headband in sport, right, apart from the Bjorn Borg thing and the McEnroe thing, they were both headband wearers, weren't they? You see, for me, growing up in the sort of late 80s, early 90s, at the peak of English culture's grasp of basketball. You know, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, all this. When I first think of headband in sport, I think of the great basketball players.
Yeah.
And they also wear big wristbands as well, don't they? Sort of big wristbands. But I remember I used to love playing basketball. And I had a Larry Bird shirt, and I had a Boston Celtics, like, you know, those long wrist sweatbands, you know, those huge. So for me, because I also think a headband looks great with an afro popping out the top.
Yeah.
I think it'd have to be Big Yerry. And he'd have it in a blue, a royal blue, because, you know, as we know, he's willing to die for the club.
While also leave in the summer.
On his 120 grand a week, 600 grand a game. Cheers, Joe. But so he'd have it in the royal blue to show his allegiance, but somewhere there'd be a little Colombian flag.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wouldn't there?
Stitched in.
Just stitched in here, there'd be a little Colombian flag there. And at the end of the game, when he'd managed to do 90 minutes without his leg falling off, he'd whip it off. The sweat would spray, and he'd toss it into the park end. To be grabbed, to be caught vicariously, and then thrown straight back at him because we lost 3-0.
I don't fucking want this. He'd have to have the letters of his name there, YM, on it, wouldn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, monogrammed as well.
Yeah, monogram. Absolutely monogrammed, yeah. And then so I think he would really, it would just suit him. I think it's a very difficult thing. Wasn't there a Crystal Palace player that wore a headband as well? Or am I thinking of bandage?
Yeah, no.
I was thinking more that type of thing. Go on, sorry.
Thomas Brolin at Palace when he played for Leeds. He had like the worst day of his life. He got a head injury. He rushed this bandage on his head. It wasn't fixed properly, and then someone levered the ball at him. It hit his head, and the bandage flew off. He was a disaster in this country, wasn't he? Because he was a really good player, and then he came
fabulous footballer. Yeah.
I think
I was thinking of
Thomas Brolin. That was at Palace when he played for Leeds, I think.
Well, do you remember when Rooney had some sort of monstrosity of a head cap or something like that was on his head? Do you remember it? The black one that he had on his head, and it really helped him because it stopped anybody from criticising the hair that he had or the lack of hair that he had. Do you not remember this?
I tell you what, it's a risky move, isn't it, as a footballer, to go for a hair transplant mid-career.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if it was now, no one really give a shit, would they? But you're absolutely right.
As a medical procedure, is an incredibly precarious. It's a precarious procedure. I mean, it's not a liver transplant.
Yeah.
But you're basically taking follicles out the back of your head, sticking them in the front of your head, and then crossing your fingers because the science is still a bit naive, and thinking, I hope these hang on for dear life. And then you go out and head a football.
There's not much better time for it, is there?
Right, I reckon he had it done down County Road or something because it was horrendous. It looked awful. It looked worse. It looked worse when it came out.
Yeah, it was like half a scargle shredded wheat hair, didn't he?
It's all about. See, the problem with a successful hair transplant, as I know because I was very close to having one, is all about donor area.
Okay.
You've got to have a very good, strong donor area.
So that usually the back of your head.
If your hair is fine, wispy, and a bit on the wane, as pardon the pun, to begin with, you know, if you're pulling out pubes to begin with, you're going to get pubes at the front.
Yeah, mate. Do you know it's so funny that you're saying this because I am going through a period right now where I'm either shaving it all off or trying what you've just said, and where it's at the back. I look like Friar Tuck, basically, if I don't. It's weird. I get to this position where if I let it grow, like right now, I'm probably at the issue where it's either carry on growing, Dave, but accept that you are completely bald in the middle, so you're probably edging towards looking like a pedo. Or just get rid of it, mate, and just take the plunge like you have, Dan. And I think I'm leaning towards that. Whereas most weeks I keep on seeing all these adverts for, get it done properly, and all of these, and obviously it's a good few grand, isn't it, as well? I mean, if you're getting it done, you have to pay well to get it done. But I'd love to know who did. It's many people say get over to Turkey, and there's always someone like every 1 in 2 man over there will sort it out for you. But with Rooney, that looks really bad. I bet you he sued whoever's done that for him.
Yeah, I mean the amount of money he could have thrown at it and still got it wrong. I went bald twice. That's gonna.
You did?
Twice.
You went bald.
What?
Did you just say you went bald?
No, he went bald twice.
I was gonna say, mate, you're so lucky because you've got yours where like it's your hair's graceful, but also like you make your fod look fine. Do you know what I mean?
It's on its way. I'm surprised I've still got as much as I have. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it'd be well gone by now, but I would love to take it off, but I'm just too scared to in case it doesn't come back.
Well, here's one. So I've had to get me passport renewed because we're going away for the wedding, and it only came back a couple of weeks ago. So you have to send a new photo because if it runs out after 10 years, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I had to send a new photo over to them, and I had my missus taking it, and where normally you just get your phone out, take a photo of yourself on a white wall background, and then just send it off. And she did it. I was stood by the wall at the bottom of by the front door in our house, and she kept on showing me. I'm like, "You're not sending that. You're not sending that. You're not sending that." Took us about half an hour to sort out, and I kept on getting her to turn the lights off, just so I had a hat. And you obviously you've seen me quite often, Les, at the front. If I'm in the dark, it's completely in the dark. But if I'm in like, if I'm in like where there's just a tiny bit of light, then it shades in. You know what I mean? You can see that it looks half decent. But I'm telling you right now, mate, if I walked outside, I don't know, I'd look like Kane off the wrestling or something like that. Where half of his hair was cut off.
Yeah. I think the deal is though, you're not meant to look like your passport photo, are you? You're meant to look at it and go, fucking hell, it doesn't look like me. That's like
mine's on the cusp of renewal, so mine must be nearly 10 years old.
Yeah.
And in mine, I've got a pretty almost dark brown Charles Bronson handlebar.
I remember that look.
Mate, you need to send us that, You have to send us that.
So no beard, no grey, and it's like that, like this, big curled Charles Bronson. Yeah. I look like I'm about to go, cup of tea. And then grease myself up with butter and get into a tear up.
When's the last time you had like a full shave?
I shaved it off when my son was about 4, so that would be 7 years ago, and I was at home shaving just normally, and looked in the mirror and just having these moments where I had the clippers like that, and I just went bah and just did the lot, and it took about 20 years off me immediately, because I looked like a baby with tattoos without a beard.
Yeah.
And I walked into school to pick my kid up, and he looked around and just kept looking around like this. Looking around. And I went, "Hi, mate." And he screamed, burst into tears, and started shouting, "You're not my daddy."
Jesus.
Right? And I was like going, "I am, I promise." I promise.
Mate.
And he absolutely freaked out because he'd never seen me without it. I went home. My wife walked in from work, walked in and went, "What the hell have you done?" She'd never seen me without it. She went, "Please say you're growing it back." And I was like, "Is it that bad?"
I've had the same thing. It's quite.
And she was like, "It's not that it's bad. It just doesn't look like you anymore."
Yeah, I had the same.
And as I said to you before, and here I don't have what you describe as a worthwhile chin. We can
do a whole show on this.
My mouth sort of disappears into my neck in a Gail Tilsley style. And so
Gail Tilsley.
But I've never. I threaten every now and again to grow my hair as a punishment to my family, because I think I'd be full Bill Bailey, Terry Nutkins.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Looking, what a shout.
But no, it's now become a bit of an albatross because everybody in the village where I now live recognises me because of it. It's a bit of a comfort blanket. I can't really. I reckon this is it now. This is it.
Yeah,
It's Uncle Albert or death.
Mate, it's so funny. We've just got off on a tangent with all this, because we went to New York, and this is what 2014. So yeah, nearly 10 years ago. We went there for the winter. Mrs. was desperate to see Mariah Carey, do the lights, the tree gets, all that stuff. And we went over, and like I thought, well, because we're getting loads of photos over there, you need to look a little bit more decent, when you're getting photos with your missus, all nice ones on Empire State Building and all that stuff. So I went over there, and we got a photo. I'll send you this at some point. And we were walking through Times Square, and we got a photo. And I looked at it immediately. I was like, "No, you look like a tramp. That's an absolute disgrace what you've done there." Because I've started getting so much more issue with myself and how you look. When you're sort of in the public eye with stuff like we do with this. You know what I mean? How many times you go into a booze and, "Oh, you Dave, you do the Blue Room," and like you'll get all that. Not that I'm trying to say that we're famous or anything, but the odd person will know you. Do you know what I mean?
Sorry, quickly, Dave. Yeah, on the train last week, Dave Mason or Masson, sorry.
Yeah.
He said on Twitter, didn't he? But it's so like disarming when someone recognises your voice. And like, yeah, it's Les off the Blue Room, isn't it? It's dead weird.
It happened to me.
I don't think
it happened to me the other day.
But it's nice. But it's really quite disarming. It's like, yeah, okay.
What you say now? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you're so right.
It's one of the reasons I haven't come up to a match, because I don't want someone shouting at me, "Oh, you cockney prick."
You're not a fucking Blue, you.
Sorry, Dave. What were you saying?
Well, no, again, it's separate answers. I went to the Everton women's game against Arsenal the other day, and I had, what's her name there? I've just completely embarrassed myself. I don't know her name. Pepper Mills.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know it was her in person. So she's standing in front of me, and Peter who was due to come on with us today. He sort of leads the band that they have, just singing all the songs all the way through it. So he's a good mate of mine, Peter. I sat next to him in the stand there, and he just wouldn't shut up, so I couldn't even talk to him. He was just giving it loads, and it's brilliant. He's done so well. They do so much for the Everton women's side of things. And he introduced me to Pepper, and obviously I knew that wasn't her real name. So he said, "Oh, this is such and such," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's her." So I asked Peter at half time, and she turned to me at one stage in the game. She goes, Are you Dave? And you do the Blue Room?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like proper getting red faced and all that when she said that. And she went, "Oh yeah, I thought I recognised you from your voice." And I was like, I was trying to joke, and I just said, "Yeah, there's at least you're one person that listens." You know what I mean? And she's like, "No, it's real." I was getting all embarrassed. She was like, "Oh no, I love listening to you guys and all this stuff." I was like, "Yeah, like you said, Les, it's really nice." But then you feel, I just felt on my toes regardless of what I said. Yeah. If I said something that was like either offensive or somebody thought, "Yeah, he's a bit of a dickhead, I'm not going to listen to that again," it was it was pressure. But just going back to what I was saying there about the random New York story, I think you'll laugh at this. So, I had a really scruffy beard, and standing next to him, we thought we want some nice photos. And I felt bad for my mate and his missus who they came with. He was the idea was he's going to produce. He's going to ask him to marry him in Central Park. So we did all that, and I thought, I'm going to have to look smart on these photos we got with him. So I decided to buy some clippers while we were there, and I thought, I'm just going to shave it all off. It was a bad idea, mate, because shaving it all off, I thought that people were going to look at me and think that I was Anne Hegarty off The Chase. I'm not joking, mate. My face looked like that, and it destroyed the holiday. I barely got any photos with it. When we did get photos, we put my hand over my mouth and stuff like that, or stand inside. So we literally haven't got a nice photo of me when we go to New York. So I decided I'm never ever going to fully shave again. And now obviously you get a decent set of clips. You can decide how much you want to cut off and things, which are great. But yeah, I'm never ever going to get fully shaved ever again.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Be careful with your facial hair, people. It can
Feel
cause...
your face smooth as well. There's something wrong with that too. I feel like that's really a bit of a concern. You know when you like rub your face.
Yeah.
And I think, if that was like nice and smooth and there wasn't a single hair, I'd feel really uncomfortable. But I'd be decent on the chase.
Well, there's one question done anyway. Next question.
You were saying we didn't have many questions. There's one of them taking it out.
So it's been playoffs this week. And Mike Blakey, there was that mad game, Sheffield v Peterborough. So Mike Blakey's asked who will be Sheffield Wednesday to our Peterborough next season. Because, I mean, that invariably happens to the top. He's done it. I actually thought Wednesday were going to Everton it up at some point when Peterborough got one back.
Me too, yeah.
It was very reminiscent of that time against Leicester where we pulled it back with that Leighton Baines
goal, yeah.
And went out on pens. It was very reminiscent of that. But they went through. But next season, let's have a look at the Championship table. Like, who will do that to us in the playoff semi-final?
It will be Ipswich Town.
Oh, will as well, won't it?
Because as you guys know, I've been because I live over this way now, over near Ipswich, and I've been to Portman Road quite a lot this year. And my mate, good friend of mine, Brewer, he lives over this way. He's a season ticket holder, born and bred tractor boy, and so we've been going over there quite a lot. And that League One title race has just been probably the most exciting thing in English football, quite frankly.
Yeah.
You know, at one point, Ipswich and Plymouth were like this, you know, and I went to 6 home games and didn't see them concede a goal. I think they scored like 30 goals or something like that. You know what I mean? I saw like 6 consecutive wins.
Yeah.
Sat in the Bobby Robson stand and just watched them batter people. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It also coincided with us being totally shit. So it was quite a nice and sort of, you know, anecdote.
Jekyll and Hyde every day.
Yeah. Going to watch a team playing blue that weren't garbage. So, but obviously there was that point where suddenly Ipswich started drawing games. And they only lost 4 games all season, Ipswich. And still, it was tooth and nail that they came up in automatic promotion. Yeah. And at one point, Sheffield Wednesday went on that incredible run where I think they won 10 on the bounce.
Yeah.
And then Ipswich dropped into the playoffs. And Plymouth were always up there. Plymouth were always hanging on. But that race up until the last couple of weeks was just absolute. And then, you know, Ipswich basically secured promotion with a 6-0 thumping of Exeter City at home. So I was glad for Sheff Wednesday because they finished on 96 points or something, you know, and Peterborough finished on 60 something. You know what I mean? It was something.
Yeah.
The disparity was huge, and Darren Moore's sound. I really like him. And,
yeah, he's a good guy.
And one of my best mates in brewing was there in the week. He's a Sheff Wed fan, and he sent me a picture of him on the pitch at the end, and he said. He said, of all the things I talk about with my therapist, I never mention this because I'm too embarrassed. I'm a Sheffield Wednesday fan. He said, I now feel like I can sell them. You know what I mean? But I'm really glad for him. I'm glad for them. But I just, all season, I've been looking at Ipswich battering people and the young side that McKenna's started there and the way they play and all that. And I've been watching them and thinking, it'd be great when they come up to the Championship. I can go over there and see some games. And then, of course, we were doing that at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, the stars are aligning for that, aren't they? You know, the stars are and not only that, then Nathan Broadhead joins them, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then, unfortunately, I was really hoping Tom Davis would go there, but it looks like he's going to go to the other county across the road. Boo.
Yeah.
But when they got guaranteed promotion and Broadhead scored in that game as well. He's had a really good second half of the season, to be fair. They love him. I I just thought this is written in the stars, isn't it?
Yeah.
For me to go to Portman Road this September, go to Portman Road and watch us get battered by Ipswich with Broadhead getting a brace. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, such the Everton way, that, isn't it? Yeah, I was thinking that I'd be really happy with Ipswich because they'll sell out, won't they? Easily sell out. The thing that does my head in, and there's one club I'm thinking of straight away, is Blackburn, because going to them away was just like it always felt to me like a really shitty away, because it was similar to Wigan. You'd end up filling one full stand.
Yeah, Wigan's a weird one in it as well.
Yeah, but yet you'd look into the stand next year and there'd be like, some fella having a pie in Wigan, not a stereotype, and his dog sitting there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just feel like you never a game you're not going to sell out, because look, if the worst comes to the worst, and obviously let's hope this weekend we secure our survival. But if we were to go down there and it got to a playoff situation, I just really hate it if it was, even if obviously they sell out in a playoff game, which you imagine most clubs would do trying to get promoted, but go into places where it just feel really, really depressing. So like Blackburn, obviously Millwall, because they'd sell out, wouldn't they? No doubt about that. And like Hull, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean about these kind of sides? I'm saying where they're never going to get a sellout, but they would against us, and then somehow, some way, they get through us on pens, and then we would be, you know what I mean? Like you said, it would be the Sheffield that we are, type of thing.
Yeah, even just the thought of Friday night at Ewood Park is giving me
mate,
on Sky. Oh,
yeah,
that's like that. That's when it will like hit.
Even though I think the playoffs is a pretty weird way of sorting that out, I still think it's a pretty shitty way of sorting it out.
Yeah.
I think the third team,
it's
I
horrible.
think you give the third team their bloody spot. Stop dicking about, especially in the Sheffield Wednesday situation where they've literally finished on 96 points.
Yeah.
Right. Give them the bloody place. Don't make them dick about with this nonsense against a team that finished sixth. I'm sorry, but it doesn't work. The playoff thing, I understand it is the ultimate neutrals experience.
Yeah.
The playoff,
it's
you love watching it, yeah.
It's the ultimate neutrals experience. It's the ultimate TV tension kind of tool, isn't it? Because it's like, you don't have to have a vested interest in this. We'll call this the most expensive game in football history. We'll call it all these things. We'll also, for the FA and for all of those associations, it's a great way to eke more money out as well, right?
Yeah,
because you're sending a devoted fan base to another 4 games or whatever, to 3 games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're saying to them, oh, by the way, you're going to have to pay for that as well, right? And so I understand, but it's just, and for us as people that aren't committed and have no vested interest in it, watching that game in the week was just like, this is insane.
Yeah.
This is why we love this game. This is why this is so intoxicating at its best. Sorry,
we're down to the last 30 seconds.
Corduroy.
Sorry, I forgot to say corduroy. So if you're watching on YouTube, you might get an advert in a minute. If you do, let us know what it is. I'm intrigued to know. I never get them. If not, you're still on the podcast. We'll be back.
Philip Schofield this week, I reckon.
See you in a minute. We are back, or we may never went away if you're listening on the podcast. Dan was just on a little bit of a rant about the playoffs.
Yeah.
So if you want to finish that, we'll move on to the next question.
No, I just think, I get why they do it, because it feels like it's purely for entertainment value. I don't think there's any necessary fairness to it.
Yeah.
Because if you finish, imagine say the apocalyptic scenario happens. We lose, we go down, right? And we end up down there. And we happen to be, because the championship is a high scoring, high entertainment, high points thing. Another reason I don't think Sean Dyche is the right man. But anyway, let's not talk about that. My follow account has been decimated because of my opinions. But anyway, but I think if we did end up, say the worst, and you imagine a title race like the League One, where there's a team on 100 points, a team on 98 points, and you finish on 96 points, and the team below you finishes on 72 or something.
Yeah.
And you don't make it to the promised land back again. That just feels like an intensely unfair.
It's horrible.
Well, the only advantage, I was going to say, the only advantage it gives you is that fair play is sixth. That's the only advantage you get is playing the bottom.
But as we know about football, and as we know about the joy of the game and the beauty of the thing, is anyone could beat anyone on any day.
Yeah.
Apart from us. But so if you're Peterborough against Sheffield Wednesday, the disparity is huge. The table tells you that the disparity between those two teams over 40 odd games was that much. So, but on that night, they're like, we've got nothing to lose here.
A lot of the time, recent form comes into it as well. So if you are that club who's just missed out on promotion, you're a little bit on the floor. And then the team, it's often the time the team that finishes sixth go on a mad run at the end of the season, just scraping the playoffs, but they've got the tails up going in. And that plays a lot into. I think when the playoffs started as well, I'm sure, definitely in Scotland anyway, the team from the division above went into a playoff.
They did that in the end of the couple of seasons ago. They brought it back, Les.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. If you finish top of the league below, you'd have a playoff with the team that finished bottom of the league above.
Yeah.
Which is insane. That is, but it's insane. You play in 38 games in a season, and then you're saying we could still stay down here, and the team that's been absolutely shite, lost fucking 35 or 36 games above us, can still stay up by winning.
I quite like the brutality of it, though. It's just horrible.
But that sounds like
that sounds like the sort of mad cheese dream stuff that Arsene Wenger comes up with.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You see something like that happening in a World Cup or a Euros, where they're bringing back more sides, and if you finish the best third place side gets to play in the knockout rounds and stuff like that. There really is so many of those stupid decisions, isn't there?
Just thinking, if I was West Ham, right, and I won the conference, I don't think I'd want to go into the Europa League. Give me that football again, please.
Those Moyes, that Moyes celebration was absolute class. See him sprinting to the away end, giving his fist. I'm thinking he's never done that for us. He's done a few things where he gets both his fists out and just punches the air, but he didn't do anything like that.
I think the best thing about that game was that massive fella fending off
Olsey or something. His name.
Load of Baltimore hoodies.
Have you seen the oil painting that West Ham fans done of it?
He's done something like that, have they?
He basically got home from the game. He's a West Ham home and away kind of fan, but he's an insanely talented oil painter, and he's done this 12 by 12 canvas of that moment with a guy at the top of the stairs and all those weird anoraked 14-year-olds from Holland. They look about 12, don't they?
Yeah.
They look like they've just rushed a JD Sports. You know what I mean? And he's done this. I'll find it. My friend from Holland has retweeted it this morning. But the way it's done, it looks like a Caravaggio or something. It looks like it should be hanging in the National Gallery. It's beautiful because there's loads. There's just this sort of, the best bit is behind him. So you got the guy with the green top on, and he's sort of about to fell one of these sort of little puffer jacket wearing weirdos. And behind him is a bloke that looks like Ray Winston going like that. Looks a bit like Bricktop, looks a bit like Bricktop in Snap.
Stuff, isn't it?
He's got the big Michael Caine glasses on. Don't throw. And so he's got that thing. But I'll find it online. I'll tag everybody in on it because it's genuinely, artistically, technically, it's stunning. It's the most beautifully worked oil painting. And the way he's sort of, there's loads of movement and loads of bodies, and it's all sort of like this, and all these, all this black nylon everywhere. So, I mean, all these little hooded kind of characters everywhere. But that West Ham thing, it's like, I know loads of West Ham fans, and they've had a shocker of a season apart from that. Yeah. They're not happy. I mean, they're happy now, but this season's been pretty grim for them. Yeah.
And you can lose in the next two games as well.
Do you know what? I was listening to the Blue Room this morning, listening to the Weekly this morning, and I'm a bit torn between it because when I saw them all, but apparently he told them they couldn't go out, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the fact that we're in this, I mean, it's grim, innit, that we're in this position where we're worried about how many pints Declan Rice has had. You know what I mean? You know, it's like, you know, we shouldn't be sitting there trying to find out where he went last night. You know what I mean? It's like, so, yeah. I mean, you look at that. Do they play Seville? Is it Seville?
Yeah.
I mean, they battered Juventus.
Yeah,
They absolutely battered them. So I don't think that's a nailed on. And it's not until June, is it, or something?
yeah, that's it. And Seville basically own that trophy. You've been in the final something like 9 times in the last 15 years or something, and then always win it.
But you know, you can say they won't throw these last 2 games because there'll be players there that want to be in that final. But you could also be a pessimist and say there's also going to be players that don't want to be injured for that final.
Well, as unlikely as it is, they're not completely safe, are they?
No,
no, they're on 37.
So they basically are. Yeah, they're playing Fiorentina in the final.
Well, yeah, but the good thing about it is that
it's the other Europa that's severe, isn't it? It's the real one.
But them doing Leeds tomorrow guarantees their safety. So at least there's that. I know they're probably still on the piss, but you know, well, I mean, I think the poetic side of this is that Moyes can save us. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, or whether
I think that is a good thing. Lewis Guy asked, in a world of shite shouts thrown out by that old fella who seemingly sits behind all of us, what's the worst shout you've ever heard at the match? Last week, I had some fella just over to the right of us nearly giving himself an aneurysm about Jordan Pickford. Really strange. Proper, like, going mad. I know he's in the
Is he the fella on that podcast, Les? He was saying that I can't stand...
I was thinking straight away the same thing. It's like, where's this coming from with people? I know Pickford wasn't great, especially for the free kick last week. Yeah. But yeah, he was. It's like, surely you got a better battle than that. He's like the least of our worries, like literally the least of our worries. Yeah. But yeah, I think that was one of the worst I've heard in a long time because he was really going mad. You know, when you kind of think, just it's not good for you, this, mate. Maybe just do something else.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's been a few over the years. I'm trying to think back to. Do you remember when we got that last minute winner against Southampton? Radzinski scores that peach.
Yeah.
At the end, and when it was still when I was a kid, getting I think it was like £9 a game. It was great. What was it, 2003, something like that?
Yeah.
And I had my season ticket, and these fellas behind me, and I think it's really funny because on the front row of the paddock. So you never really want to turn around and see what these people look like, but you've just got like an image in your mind of what their voice is going to be. And I'm not joking, mate. All game long, because we scored the equaliser and that winner quite late on.
Yeah, it was.
Rooney put in a great cross for the equaliser. It was in the, I don't know, 70-odd minute, 80-odd minute. I'm not joking, mate. I think because Radzinski was on our side, I think that the fella was about to get on the pitch and just knock him out because all he did was flip it on Radzinski. He's like, you can't even head the fucking ball because you're a midget. And he honestly, and the worst, this is good. This sounds so fucking random. I turned around to actually look at this fella. I was brave enough to at that stage. And he said, just before, the reason I turned around was he shouted saying, fuck off, Radzinski, I'm going to throw me lighter at you. I'm not joking. I turned around, looked at this fella, mate. I swear to you, right, the size of this fucking lighter that he's got would actually knock someone out if it hit them in the face, mate. It was this... for all intents and purposes, it looked like a flask, but it was a lighter. And I was like, how the fuck did he get this in the ground? But he just... Like, when he said it, he put it up in the air as if it was a trophy for himself. Jesus. And he was like, if he fucking comes over to take a throw in, I'm going to throw this at his head. He needs to take it off. And then he got off. He left. He left before that winner as well.
Probably good job, to be honest.
I know, yeah. All the fellas around him, I'd love to have seen like the reaction if he was still there when we got that winner. But yeah, that's probably the main thing that comes to mind there.
That is a mad one. That it's weird the way people just seem to have these little irrational ticks. I don't know if it's every game. It might just be on a game by game basis. They'll pick someone, but it's dead weird. It's really odd.
Sidibe was one got hammered. I know that probably was justified, but Sidibe used to get some really serious abuse.
Do you think the Mason Holgate thing was blown up a bit last week? It was because everyone was saying there was loads of booing. I don't think there was loads, was there? There was more cheering I heard, which equally is shitty. But I don't think it was
when he actually kicked the ball to one of our players, people are going, "Way!"
Yeah,
stuff like that.
And yeah, I don't think it was as bad as was made out, and I do think he was hung out to dry a little bit there as well last week.
I think if you're going to, on that subject, on the Holgate left back thing, and the booing and all that stuff that went, there's very much a thing at the moment within certain sections of Everton Twitter, and I think a lot was made of that because it kind of it fits a narrative. And the reality is that if we're going to be honest, and again, this is going to get me absolute pelters, and I don't really care. Dyche has done this before. Dyche has left a player in a position they're uncomfortable in, getting ripped a new one, and just watched them get ripped a new one. He did it with Godfrey.
Yeah.
Godfrey.
He just left him there to get ripped and just sat him there. People going about man management and all that sort of stuff. That's terrible man management. Just to leave a player to get torn and torn and torn and torn and torn in a position he doesn't like. He did it with Mason Holgate the other day when he got the yellow card, and he should have just got him off. Just said, look, we know where this is going. Get you off. And he did it the other day with him at left back, where he just left him there, and just, if anything, that compounds the situation. That's why you've got to have the ability, the humility to say, this isn't working, I need to sort this out because this boy's getting done.
Yeah.
And get him either moved in, get someone out there, drop Dwight McNeil back, do something tactically aware that stops that guy getting the reaction he gets when he eventually gets hooked, which was too late, too little too late. And in a way, that's bad man management from his point of view, because you've let him drown there. You've let him drown in that position rather than being tactically more astute and saying, actually, we can go three at the back and stick Dwight McNeil and Patterson as wing backs, and we'll go with Cody, Mina and Tarkovsky in the mid. You know what I mean? He just stuck him there and let him
rot.
You know what I mean? So I think a bit of that, because at the moment, as we all know, you can't say anything negative about Dyche, because otherwise people just jump on you with their big kicking boots on. You know what I mean? You can't say anything about the 1 point a game average over 3 seasons, because people go, no, but look at our XG.
We were shit before it,
You go, yeah, but XG is Mystic Meg shit.
Yeah, I can't stand it, me, mate. And I don't want little Mike to listen to this, because I say little Mike, he's in his 20s and he's brilliant at what he does. But he does a lot on his Twitter. It's fascinating what he does, but I've never, ever been a fan of XG stuff.
Yeah, same.
But he's brilliant at what he does, and it's really interesting, but just not my cup of tea. Do you know what I mean?
But I think the Holgate thing, it's unfortunate because it's just a symptom of where the fan base are, where the club is. It's just, we know how important these games are. And it's just, every time something like that happens, it feels, look, we were never going to beat them. Okay, we held on for 30 odd minutes. Okay, we did better than Madrid for half an hour. God, if I see that again.
Yeah,
all right. Okay. So we'll swap Dwight McNeil, shall we? Yeah, okay, for Vinicius Jr. or whatever. But, the reality is that because all these games are so important and there's so much resting on them, when you see a player struggling and it doesn't have a direct... It's like the Michael Keane thing.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
He was struggling so badly. He was clearly... Everybody could see it, and the goals were shipping in, and he was responsible for 50% every game. He had something to do with that goal going in. But he was just left out there. He was just left there to struggle game after game after game after game after game until it got untenable, and the manager ends up almost collapsing to public opinion.
Yeah.
And because these games are so emotive and they're so driven with consequence,
Yeah.
That, I don't dislike Michael Keane in any manner, shape, or form. He seems an absolutely lovely man.
Yeah.
He's got great hair, and I love anybody that wears one giant shoe. Right? I just love the comic ideal that he had a massive shoe on and no one knew about it. I just love it. It's like Vic Reed.
Didn't someone put a fucking boot on it from like Screwfix or something as well on a picture?
It's like the Vic Reed sketch where he's got the really long shoe,
Yeah.
So I've got no animosity towards the man whatsoever. But the fact that he was being involved in so many goals conceded and so many poor performances, and we know that he's a confidence player and we know what this does. The fact that he was left out there to basically struggle, that's why players get the shit they get from fans, because because the performances as the performances deteriorate and the stakes get higher, the fan reaction gets more vociferous. And there'll always be people that go, I'd never do that, I'd never boo a player, and good for you, well done. But emotion is emotion and passion is passion. And the reality is we all express it in different ways. We all express it, either some of us do it as a stream of consciousness on Twitter that we delete immediately after because we've just called White McNeil a shithouse and he scored a wonder goal 30 seconds later. Or we all do it and we all express our emotions. And, we've all heard that, we've all had the guy behind us at the game that's giving someone an absolute roasting and then they score the winner.
Yeah.
It's the way it is. And unfortunately, I think the Holgate situation was just an absolute microcosm of everything this season is, which is a player who isn't really good enough, but unfortunately, he's the only option in a position he doesn't want to be in, playing the best team on the planet and clinging on for dear life because we've got nothing else to stick there. We've got, at one point I was thinking, well, surely Lonergan can play at left back because all goalkeepers are left-footed, right? So, do you know what I mean?
I said the same with Begovic coming on.
But I just think it's really unfortunate that he was in that position, and I think the reaction from a minority of fans or whatever it was is just a complete and utter domino effect of where we are.
I think we need an inspirational quote right now. I think that's what we need.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Pick us up. So Evertonians love nothing more than seeing one of their own pull on the famous royal blue jersey and run out at Goodison Park. Bill Kenwright. That's on the wall of somewhere at Finch Farm or something. So
no, it's not. Is that one of the things that's been thrown in the canal? Like the other Bill.
It should, because it's not even a good quote. Stephen Sheen picked up on this with an interview that I think Dom was having for, I think it was for Soccer AM, if that's still going.
When he does the dance with tubes. Or something.
So I think it was in that interview. This quote is on the
last
wall
week, in
the background. So he said, after seeing this during the interview with DCL, what inspirational quote would you put that you've said on the wall of a club business you owned or was chairman of? I'm thinking, come on, Everton needs a shite. Works better than anything else, to be honest. But
it's your fucking man, Davey. Or the other one, it's sort of, I think it went viral when you were in the pandemic, because it was when, like, a couple of thousand fans were allowed in the game, and obviously the players must have heard this, and I don't even know which player it was, but you could hear this fella's voice. Like, I think I've got a big voice, but I don't think I go as far as what this fella did. He's videoed it on the top of the Gladys Street, and you just hear him go, fucking shite! But he screams it louder than I've ever heard. It's while we were in possession, and I was thinking, do you know what? What Dan was referring to there with the Holgate thing is, just imagine if you're on the ball and you hear that, you're fucking shite, because he's obviously referring to our player when he does it. I'd have that. I'd have that on a sign and just have, I don't know, when they take the team photo in May at the start of the season, I'd just have that with fucking shite just written above them.
Any inspirational quotes, Dan?
I mean, you could get, because I listen to the commentary a lot, and the live commentary, which, in the modern, it's one of those things that even the club can't get that right in the modern era of, Wi-Fi, internet streaming, us doing stuff like that. That commentary drops out constantly. But anyway, whoever the guy is who sits next to them, there's one guy, you hear him every week, and he sits next to them, and it sounds like he's shouting down a Pringles tube. And he's got this incredible voice that's sort of gravelly and coarse, and it's just wonderful. It's just. But every now and again, and he always perfectly times it in a lull in the play and the commentary. Right? So there's nothing. There's no sound to cover any of it. And it's almost like he waits for Darren Griffiths to stop talking or Snods to stop. And then he aims his Pringles tube directly into the commentary area. And it's always something like, this is fucking shite, or, you know what I mean? Or something like that. Right? And they always kind of like go, anyway, it's a throw-in. And but it's like he literally is like he's watching them, and he's like, they're going to stop in a minute. When the ball goes out of play, I'm fucking having this. Right? So it'd be anything that geezer says, because it's always just stuff like, that's never a fucking throw-in, or ref, you're shy, or something like that. It's always something, it's beautifully clipped as well. It's just like bang. Or the classic we could always have is it wasn't at you, Roscoe.
Oh God, yeah.
That's an old one, isn't it?
Jaggy Elker at Wembley. The most alarming thing about that was that his nickname was Roscoe.
Roscoe, I know, that was awful. Because he said, didn't they film that, and that went viral, didn't it? As they were going off at half time.
Yeah.
Not your fault, Roscoe. But the one I was going to talk about as well, when you refer to them being the commentators, that was they put this on, the too good, too bad on
the referee one.
The referee one, where you just hear some fella constantly going, "You fucking shite that well, that's awful that well," and it wasn't fucking that well.
Yeah, it's totally the wrong ref, wasn't
it? Yeah. Do your job out well.
The other belter as well as from the paddock with Leighton Baines. What's he meant to do? Fucking disappear?
Oh yeah.
They really should just have a wall of this at the new ground.
Yeah, they should. Yeah.
It would definitely...
especially in the Stones. We've paid for the Blue Room Stone, and we just had them instead.
Yeah.
Rather than names, just have all those. Do you reckon? And I know they said this when I sorted this out when I was going through the full application. I was thinking, do you reckon I just take a chance of putting like something fucking like this? Do you know what I mean? And see if it gets through. Because obviously it won't, because they'll read them all before they start, saying that that's fine. You can have that stone type of thing. I wonder if anybody just got under the radar and something like mad like that was able to go on there.
The best one was Falcon Blues. They didn't get theirs because they had Kirby on it.
Really?
Yeah, so obviously they're from the Falcon Pub in Kirby, aren't they? That's where they run the podcast from.
Yeah.
But I think they put Falcon Blues Kirby on it because that's where they're from. But obviously there's some sort of profanity filter in this whole thing that you can't mention Kirby because it's
because we nearly moved ground there.
Yeah, so it's because it must be like an automatic thing, that, because surely if someone's read that, they go, okay, yeah, that's what that is. But there must be an automatic thing that you just can't mention Kirby. Maybe it's around Goodison.
You could do it like people do with number plates, right?
Yeah, so good shout.
You could have 5H1T3, and that's shite.
I don't know, man. You know what? That's a great shout, because I'm not sure certain members of the admin team in there have got that level of sort of thought to be able to think that was what you've just said there, Dan. They're thinking, what's that mean? Oh yeah, we'll just let them have that. That's fine. It's not a swear word. That's fine.
Quick one from Chad Queen. I think he's missed a 0 off this, or maybe a couple of zeros. Would you rather stay up and have a tattoo of Steven Gerrard goal celebration, or go down and win £10,000 on the lottery?
Fucking hell, that's hard. That, you know.
Actually, no. Yeah, relegate me and give me 10 grand, please.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, we've spoken a lot about the playoffs. We could come straight back up. Do you know what I mean? And then you'd feel like an absolute dickhead, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So I'd go down. That 10 grand. As much as I'm as pessimistic at our club as much as anybody else, but I'd sort of bank on. I'll take that 10 grand, please, and then I think we'll be back up anyway. So if that was the case, therefore, taking anything on your body that had Steven Gerrard associated with it would be a complete waste.
You wouldn't be able to hide that, would you, Dan?
No, I mean, we all know how close I am to having to have something done. Yeah.
Speaking of
I love that serious look on your face there, mate. You know,
it was a very, very middle distance look, sort of PTSD from.
I'm not offended by it.
I mean, I'm a man of my word. It's probably the reason why I have so many stupid tattoos.
You can get it changed as well, I suppose. Couldn't you? I mean,
but yeah. So for me, I couldn't have anything with that.
Yeah,
furry, four-headed weirdo on.
Yeah, Botox.
There's the title now, definitely.
Botox Gerrard.
Furry, four-headed weirdo.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I did. I mean, I've got some ridiculous shit tattooed on me, and in 2 games' time, there could be an even more ridiculous thing tattooed on me.
If you get that done before Keith gets his Iwobi tattoo, there's got to be weird.
Is he actually going to get that done? Do you think?
He's still not got it done. I think he's hoping everyone forgets.
He's made that. I think it's in the stars that he keeps us up. Iwobi gets the winner.
In which case, Keith needs to get 2 Iwobi tattoos. Then.
yeah.
Like that on either shoulder. Looking teamworthy.
Like an angel and a devil one.
Yeah. And then he can have the words "wobe dog."
Oh yes,
like a neck rocker like that.
Yeah, and
I mean, I've pretty much come to terms with the fact that I am going to end up with the Kettering gravel voiced, gravel larynx genius tattooed on me somewhere. Boyhood Liverpool fan, by the way. Just let that one sit there. Yeah. For me, I'm now trying to work out what I have, because I want some text on it. So I'm going to have him centrally with some sort of text top and bottom. And that's what is currently the thing that I haven't quite decided on yet.
Yeah. I think as well, given what you said about Keith, it has to be tattooed somewhere that he can, cover. Yeah. So like his I don't know, like each of his fingers.
on his leg. His fingers, yeah.
Iwobi's perfect, isn't it, as well?
On his leg, it could ruin shorts weather for him.
Yeah. That's a good point. Or his forehead. Does anyone go as far as having one on his forehead?
Dyche is going on my leg. If it happens, he's going to go on my leg somewhere.
Yeah, that's a brave man, that mate. After what you said about him.
Well, it's been said. I said it. I committed to it. It's something, never say screenshot this ever on Twitter.
Yeah.
And he's going on the leg somewhere.
But, he's still got that boozer in Burnley, by the way.
They have. Yeah.
What's it called? Sir Dyche or something like that.
Because it's got him.
The Royal Dyche, isn't it?
Henry VIII, isn't it? He's
the Royal
Dyche. The Lord Dyche, isn't it? Yeah.
We'll finish on this one because we've got 8 minutes left. So TWS asked, short of seeing us parade the league trophy around the pitch, championship trophy maybe, what's on your Goodison bucket list with the remaining time before we leave? What would you like to see or do? Where haven't you sat that you want to try? Do you feel obliged to have a hot dog? Never feel obliged to have a hot dog at Goodison.
No.
Someone got one in front of us last week and the smell was just horrific.
I can imagine the bread, mate. The bread, it must be like a rock to your teeth in.
It's like that. It's like that smell you get when you open a pack of ham, isn't it?
Yeah. Smells like you haven't had a wash.
Exactly that. Has everyone sat in every part of the ground? I have.
Well, no, did you not see this week? There's a little lad doing it for charity, and they were filming him to sit in every single seat around the ground for charity. Really good, that.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Sky did it.
I haven't graced your area, Les. Matron.
Daniel.
So yeah, I've not done Park End.
It needs to be done before it's sadly knocked down.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't been in family enclosed yet for an Everton game, because the only time I've been in there was the first time I had a match at Goodison. Was that I always seem to mention this every single few weeks, the Brazil against Japan in '94.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've sat in the family enclosure. So I sort of think that counts, because I wasn't an adult that it wasn't Everton. So that's probably the only one I've not been in.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been in every bit.
I quite fancy sitting in the director's box in those empty bits.
You should be giving them away.
By the way, did everybody see the Dom King piece on Graham Sharp today?
No.
Well worth a read, that. So you sort of it looked like very much club PR.
And he had looks,
because he's one of Ken Wright's mates.
There's a quote in it which might go up on the wall, which says, "The crowd that sing 'If You Know Your History' clearly don't."
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be castigating one of their club legends.
Yeah. Did you read the full piece?
I've just got it here now.
Yeah.
I'm still saying do away with that song, but that's another matter for another time. Because I can't stand it.
Oh, it's an absolutely stunning piece of client journalism that's clearly been dictated.
Right.
It's been dictated from a London office via Prentice into the ears of Dom to basically be released a day before one of the biggest games in the club's history. It's the most divisive, cringeworthy, arrogant, vanity projects I've ever seen in my life. It's just
got that very, very Daily Mail headline. Graham Sharp's Everton exile is a sad, sorry tale. He might never go to Goodison again, making the club's greatest living player unwelcome at the place that should be his home is unforgivable, in capitals. So yeah, very Daily Mail. Shite. But there we go.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
And as has been said, the greatest living Evertonian is Neville Southall.
Yeah. Joe Royal, maybe, as well.
Yeah.
Everton bucket lists, then, what we doing? I wouldn't mind doing that that zip line. I might try and do that when that's back on for charity.
Bucket list, bucket list. I don't know. I mean, I would say playing it, but I've been...
Before we leave.
Sorry. I've done that a couple of times, playing it, which wasn't as good as you think it is. That's because I played absolute shite. Because the thing about playing it, it's great. But 5 minutes in, you're like, I need to put on some sort of performance here, so I don't regret ever playing at Goodison Park. I think that's a great shout, sitting everywhere. But I mean, you'd never get it organised by the club. But I'd like to do that in matches before we leave Goodison. So that'll probably be mine.
Yeah, Dan.
Just full Park End, mate. I want to go full Park End.
Never go full Park End, but yeah, let's go.
What does that mean? You get off after 70 minutes, mate?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm going to have a really nice boo, and then I'm pissing off.
75. No, we do have standards. Never before 75. Right.
Is that real?
Sorry, one last one from TWS. This could come back to bite us. Are we staying up?
No.
Ooh, I'm airing towards weirdly. Dan?
Remember, just to emphasise for everyone, this is pre-Wolves.
It is pre-Wolves.
I'm going to say yes, but it won't be down to us.
Okay.
Do you think it'll ever stay as it is? People are saying fucking no one's going to win anything and it'll stay exactly as it is right now. Not having that.
But that, no, I can see West Ham getting beat twice, as I said before. It's just depressing, isn't it? Just being the least shit out of 4 teams. It's horrible.
It's so... Do you know what's worse? Is looking at Southampton and thinking, there's some good players we could get from there.
Even if we go down, there's a look at him, yeah.
Get Thierry Small back for a laugh. Christ. The irony of that as well, he would have been playing.
Who?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Really small. That beauty went to
Oh yeah,
somewhere now
yeah.
on loan.
I'd definitely take Ward-Prowse now though. Well, Dan said I'd have him in the championship.
Oh yeah, I could definitely do a job for us next season in the champ.
Yeah.
Right, on that happy note, we will leave it there for this week's mailbag. Thanks to everyone who sent questions in. Thanks to Dan. Thanks to Dave. We'll catch you next time. Have a great weekend. Up the toffee.